everybody? Calcio is back this weekend. International break over. Thank God. I feel like I haven't watched Serie A in 6 months, but alas, it is here. We got a lot of good games this weekend. We're really looking forward to it. A lot of big matchups, a lot of meaningful games for every team. As always, you got Vos here, and I'm here today with Motts. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well. Love that we had Calcio this weekend. Weekends without Calcio always go by slightly longer because there's not games to watch in the mornings or afternoons. So fired up to have it. And we have a good week this week. A lot of good matchups. So excited for that.
Yeah, we're really excited for it. And the other good thing about Calcio being back is we're back to our normal episode stream. Today, guys, we're doing match previews for the weekend, and then we're going to round it up, as always, with our Culpi di Luna. It is back. We're really excited about it. Motts, not so much excited about it, but we'll talk about that near the end. Before we get into the previews, though, we do have quick shouts. We got some really good quick shouts today, I have to say.
Quick shouts. You start us off. You never start us off on the quick shouts.
Yeah, Logs isn't here, so we'll do a jersey shout because it's his favorite thing in the world. Colombia, 100th anniversary jerseys it was? 100th anniversary?
I think so.
I think these are the best kits I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're really
They're
nice.
amazing.
They're super nice. For people that haven't seen them, they're like all white, and then in the middle, right above the number, they have their Colombian flag stripes across the chest. Super clean, super colorful at the same time, and really nice.
Old Adidas logo too on there. That's literally the best kit, definitely of the year, the best that I can remember in a long time.
Yeah, and coming at a good time because Colombia is hot right now. I know that their their streak with matches in a row without losing came to an end, but they are hot right now. So good time for their nice jerseys.
Yeah, definitely. More serious football news. Lionel Messi, 20th anniversary today of his debut with Barcelona. Just want to give him a shout out because if there was ever a guy that figured out how to play football, how to play soccer, like he just did it, and he did everything so well. It's coming to an end, unfortunately, but the best.
And it is. He also yesterday had a hat trick for Argentina, and I think scored his 845th all-time goal. I mean, that man's the GOAT. Ronaldo obviously has more goals than him with 900, but then when you take into goal contributions and assists, Messi blows him out of the water, obviously. Messi is the GOAT of this podcast, obviously, so we're going to shout him out. But to go hand in hand with that shout, Messi also, after the game, I think Argentina won like 6-2. I forgot who they played, but they killed them. After the game press conference, Messi came out and said that he thinks Lautaro Martinez deserves the Ballon d'Or this year. Got the Messi stamp. We know how this award favors Messi. He could have maybe swayed the voters in Lautaro's favor. I don't think this gets it done, but always good to get the Messi stamp.
We talked about this, and we don't think that Lautaro's actually going to win it, but he maybe should. Like, he's not even going to be that high in voting, I think, when this all is said and done. I don't think he's going to be top 5.
He's got to be top 5.
He might not be, dude, just because of the clout that, like, the Ballon d'Or, like, they just would never give it to Lautaro. That's the thing.
I don't know if he necessarily deserves it this year. I think Rodri deserves it, in my opinion. I think Vinicius is going to win it. You never know what can happen. At least Messi gave him the stamp, and it'd be awesome for a Serie A player to win the Ballon d'Or. Although I will be a little upset if an Inter player gets it, but I won't be upset because I like the league, grow the league.
Yeah, I hope he finishes top 3 at least because it just that little more like growth for the league kind of thing. I don't remember the last time a Serie A player was near the top of this.
Pirlo.
Really?
Yeah, he'd come in like 7th place.
Yeah. So be good. I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll see. Some other international news. International managers, Thomas Tuchel appointed as the England manager this week. Motts, how do you feel about that one? I think it's a little bit divisive.
I think his last name is pronounced Tuchel.
No, it's Tuchel.
I disagree.
Okay.
We'll have to do a Paisanos get involved there and let us know how to pronounce his name.
Doesn't your cousin live in Germany? Ask him. It's a German name.
Okay, I'll ask him after the pod. But my opinion is England don't play a 3-back. Thomas Tuchel is notorious for playing a 3-back. Going to be an adjustment. I do think it might be better for Trent. He can play in a wing back. I know he doesn't play as a wing back for Liverpool, but it would be better suited for him rather than playing at the right back or the midfield spot. So some players will probably excel for this. Some players might not. Like, what do you do with Foden now? And so on and so forth. So we'll have to see. I think it's going to be an adjustment period, but it's definitely a good manager, better than Southgate, that's for sure.
Yeah, what I do, there's a lot of things I don't like about Tuchel from a club perspective. From an international perspective, it's really hard to say that he's not a good tournament manager. Like, he won the Champions League with the Chelsea team that was not very good. And that's because he manages like games like not over the long, kind of like Simeone. Simeone's a really good tournament manager, less so in the league. And that's what I think Tuchel will do. Like, he's not going to give a shit about anything anybody's saying. And he's just going to put out a team that's built to win games and get deep in tournaments, which I think is going to resonate well with England fans, regardless of if it's like murder ball or terrorist ball, some people call it.
Yeah. I saw a lot of people on Twitter upset about the fact that England hired a foreign manager, not an English manager. What are your thoughts there?
It's hard to say because as an American, I don't care. Like, if we have Poch right now, like, our coaches are not good enough. It might be different from like an English perspective. I mean, if we had like a good American manager and we did in Jesse Marsh and didn't get him, then it'd be something. But I don't know. I'm definitely always a fan of trying to get a manager to manage the national team that's from the country. I think it makes sense, but I think England are also desperate. Like, they feel like they have to win something.
Yeah. I think at this point, England fans should just shut up about the nationality of the coach because you haven't won dick in so long. So why don't you try something new and not appoint an England manager? But I saw Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville like upset about it. But like at the end of the day, like who gives a shit about that?
Yeah, it's all about results. Speaking of results, Pochettino, first 2 games this past week for the U.S. men's national team, went 1-1, and they kind of got torched by Mexico. I think the final score was 2-0, but they weren't really in the game.
That Mexico game, I'm not taking that into account. All their players flew home after they won the first game. Wes McKennie flew home, Pulisic flew home, Musa flew home. So like their starters were not there. So obviously Mexico's looked at as USA's rival. You want to beat those guys whenever you can, but I'm not reading too much into that game because of who he had at his disposal.
Yeah, I think the Pochettino project is going to be a little bit longer of a runway because he's going to want to see, I think, all the players at his disposal more so than Greg Berhalter ever did. And like, he would just call up the same guys over and over and over and over and over. And a lot of those guys I didn't agree with even
Who?
calling up it. So that's what I'm excited about Poch. Like, I don't think the results right now matter as much. Like, he knows the guys that are like, okay, you're going to play, like Christian Pulisic, some of those guys. And there's going to be a lot of tinkering. And I think in 6 months, we'll have a better idea of what the U.S. is under Pochettino. I see it getting better, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I didn't even think of. Like, I even like the fact that he wants to see all the other guys. I don't know who you were referring to before, but at least this guy's looking at all the players that we have and saying, hey, what can these guys offer? I kind of know what Pulisic, Wes McKennie, and Musa, all these guys can do. Let me see other guys.
Definitely. In other news, there is some transfer talk that's kind of been heating up over the last couple of weeks. It's still pretty early for like January transfer news, to be fair, but there are strong links. Real Madrid, I think they've come out and even said it, that their top transfer target is Trent Alexander-Arnold.
They're also in the race for Alphonso Davies as well. Real Madrid's in the race for anybody that's good at all times.
The Alphonso Davies one it's going to be a free transfer at the end of this year is the idea with that one.
I saw Trent, and I don't know how true this is, but I saw Trent said in an interview that Barcelona was always his favorite team. I don't know. That probably doesn't play a factor at all if to not going to Madrid. Like, I'm sure he'd be thrilled to go to Madrid, but Trent loves Liverpool as well. So I just kind of want him to stay. Also, like, how much better do you need to get Madrid? I get like Danny Carvajal just for his ACL is getting older, so you need to replace him. But do you really need to go add Trent to the team? Like, just stop it at this point.
Well, I thought about it. I didn't really like it at first. Number one, I think Trent will probably stay on Liverpool, but if there was ever a time where he was going to leave Liverpool, I think it would be now. On the back of like, it is so hard to like do the Klopp era, but then restart with a new guy. and like still be so committed to the Liverpool project. Like if there was a time where he would go, I literally think it would be now. And I didn't like it at first because I've always felt that Real Madrid's defense has been like defense first because they're so attacking in other areas. But what I think this is, and as a club, I think there's a really good recognition on their point is this is where I think they're trying to replace Kroos and Modric because the midfield that they have right now isn't that like creative, long passing ability. And then this is a guy like you put him alongside Militao. Militao is going to cover all that ground that like Trent is historically bad at covering. And he's going to add so much more in terms of passing range that they realistically don't have right now because I don't really think anybody's like a passer. Like as good as their midfield is, like that's not what Jude Bellingham is. That's not what Tchouaméni, like all those guys. So I
He's
think it'd
probably
be
the best passer to Tchouaméni. But
yeah, and he's
yeah,
not
no,
even like
that's a good thought. I don't want to speculate too much because, like you said, it's far away. Will this happen? We don't know. There are rumors Madrid want him and Davies, like I mentioned, but only time will tell. But yeah, no, that's a good shout because he definitely offers more of a passing range than Carvajal does, that's for sure. And as you mentioned, those midfielders don't have the best passing range that they have now.
and I also think that if they're assuming they're getting Alphonso Davies, they're like, this is similar to Alphonso or Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson, where like Alphonso Davies can just get up and down the field the entire game, not a problem. And they did it at Liverpool successfully. So I think that they're confident it can work. But bringing it back to Italy, some other transfer links, namely in Juventus on the back of Bremer getting hurt out for the season.
Yeah, Juventus are linked to a lot of center backs right now. I don't know if anything will get done. Any of them will get done in January. We'll have to wait and see. Two of the most notable names are Jonathan Tah from Leverkusen. That one wouldn't get done most likely in January. That would be a free transfer. Juventus are linked with him heavily, and so are Inter. So it might be a battle for who can sign him first. Inter and Juventus rival a lot of players that they're interested in. But Jonathan Tah is going to get interest from all over the globe because he's a very, very good center back. So I wouldn't be surprised if another team comes in to steal him away and offer him more money. We'll see there. There is also another person that was linked, or another center back linked with Juventus. And I know you had a strong opinion on that. So I'll let you talk about him now.
Yeah, so the guy that linked her is Milan Skriniar. And I think this one would probably get done in January would be the idea, right? With this, I haven't seen exactly the timing on it. For me, I don't really like it. We don't know what we're going to get out of Milan Skriniar at this point. Like he hasn't really played a lot at PSG. When he has played, he hasn't been great, which is why they're able to get him right now. And this kind of brings me back to my whole qualm, I guess, with Juventus trying to bring in a center back. I think they don't need one because Bremer going down isn't going to stop you from winning the Scudetto in my mind. It would only help you kind of win the Champions League more is the way I look at it. And I don't think Juventus are in contention to win the Champions League just yet. I think next year it could be there. So I think it would be a ill or a short-sighted use of money, especially with guys like Juan Cabal, who we haven't really even seen that much yet, who I think can come in and being a really good center back in Serie A this year, develop him more, and then next year you get Bremer back, then you can add a piece if Cabal doesn't work out. I just think the center back situation right now isn't something to panic about when you have Kalulu, Cabal, and Gatti. And I think Savona could have really played center back if you needed him to.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. What I especially don't want is for Juventus and Giuntoli to shell out 15, 20, 25, 30 mil, depending on however much they do in January. And then this guy will be a substitute, right, in the future because Bremer will be coming back. Hopefully he comes back to that form that he was just in. I do think he will because Bremer's not really like quick step like Chiesa was, where it probably won't play as much of a factor, that ACL tear. So then you're just kind of stuck with another guy, another body, right? With all these center backs that we have. You're another person you didn't even mention that is a great utility guy, can play multiple positions. I know hasn't played a whole lot this year, but was good last year, is Danilo.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
He can plug and play. I see why they're like, hey, we might need it because obviously it's one less body. But if Juventus are gonna go buy somebody, I would really, really hope it would be another left-footed center back because the last thing we need is another right-footed center back. And then if you go splash the cash and then he's just a sub next year, that would kind of stink.
even more than that, if you're going to spend any more money this year, which I don't think they should to begin with, they need a striker. Very simply, like a 20 or 30 million euro striker, instead of buying 20 or 30 towards a center back, can get you a very good player that when Dusan is out of form, and God forbid Dusan gets hurt, then you have a guy.
Yeah, no, I agree, but we'll see. I mean, Junto is aggressive. I know that, yes, we've spent a lot, but we've also kicked a lot of it down the road. So that's another reason why it's like you can't really spend much more because we have to pay off a lot of these loans with obligation to buy. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll see what happens. Another quick shout about Juventus. Paul Pogba did some long ass interview today. I don't know with who, but all I see on my Twitter timeline is Paul Pogba quotes and other things that I won't mention. But he basically said that he wants to stay at Juventus. He wants to reduce his salary. He had nothing but good things to say about Dusan. They asked him about Dusan's contract because Dusan's contract's up in 2026. He said, you should renew your contract at Juventus. Do not leave. I left. I regretted it. Talked about Keenan Yildiz taking his number 10. He said Keenan deserves it. Says, I don't want it. Says, I just want to stay at Juve. I'll do what I have to do. I want to play under Mata. Just kind of begging to stay on Juventus. At this point, though, with this man, like, I don't even know. He hasn't touched a football, and we got him 2 years ago. He played maybe 45 minutes, got hurt for the season, then got banned. Was hurt when he came from Manchester United, so he hasn't touched a football in like 3 years. I think skill-wise, he's probably really good still in terms of skill, but how much does he have left in the tank? He's getting older. I really don't know what to think about this man at this point. Would I love to have him as an added player? Sure, why not? Do I think that he can be what he once was or what he was supposed to be when Juventus signed him 2 years ago? No, I don't. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but this is not the last we will hear about Paul Pogba and Juventus.
For me, he doesn't fit into the project anymore. Like, they got their new midfield. What the best possible scenario is you get 2 years of Pogba at his best. That's the best possible case. Like, you get actually insanely good Pogba. But to even get that, then you have to drop who from the team, because he plays what Coop Miners is going to play, and you got Coop Miners. So you need to develop Coop Miners more. He's got a longer runway. What I thought of on the back of this was, I think a part of his interview, he said he'd be open to going to play in France. Swap him for Skriniar. I would be totally fine with that. Like, do a clean swap. They get him. You get Skriniar. No money's exchanged. It works for Juventus. It's just too much baggage with Paul Pogba at this point to, like, with all the vibes that are great of Juventus right now. And then he isn't even playing yet, and he's already making all these headlines about, like, how he's angry and wants to get back playing and stuff. It's like, just shut up and do your work, and then once you're actually playing soccer, you can talk. Like, he's just like this noisy guy.
Yeah, he's definitely more of a celebrity now than a soccer player, which is kind of funny. He definitely loves the limelight as well. So we'll see what happens there. Last quick shout actually, we'll do 2 more quick shouts. I'll let you handle the second to last one, and then I'll throw a surprise one in.
Yeah, I don't like to. I hate. I'm happy it's you doing a surprise one and not Logs, I have to say, because I don't know what I don't like surprises with Logs. But on the back of the international break we just had, Luciano Spalletti had an interesting quote to me that I didn't really like personally, but it made a lot of news. And what he said was, we lack a real top player, but the one we have is the team. Basically saying, like, oh, the team is playing really well together. For me, we have a ton of great players, and I think there's a lot of superstar players even. Like, we talk about Barella, we talk about Bastoni, one of the best center backs in the world, Calafiori, Federico Donnarumma,
Chiesa.
fucking Cambiaso. Like, he's world class now. Tonali. It's just like, I get what you're trying to do, but, like, is he underplaying the squad as that he has? Or, like, I would say they have a great squad, and they do have top players. Like, I don't really get it.
Yeah, I just think it kind of comes with the Italian national team. A lot of times Italy has great players, and they're just vastly underrated for whatever reason.
That's true.
I think that's where Italy wants to be. That's where Italy plays the best, is having all of this silverware from competitions and such a high pedigree or heritage of the Italian national team, right? But they don't really get the respect that Spain gets or France or Portugal, even though they've had just as much or more success in the tournament. So I think Spalletti's just putting them where he wants them to be in a kind of underdog mentality, so they're not favorites. As you can see, they're confident building in the way they're playing, getting better and better.
And I think I know what your surprise quick shout is now.
Yes, my surprise quick shot. It's funny that you talked about Logs because I was looking at my phone and Logs texted us, and I know how much he loves the quick shout segment of Calcio Culture. Although he's one game a week, want to have him still live here in spirit. He texted us right as we started and said, Erling Haaland, baby, quick shout. So we'll just leave it at that.
That's good enough for me. One thing, just wrap up. Italy with with how they've been playing, they made the first pot for the World Cup draw.
Yes.
So maybe that's why Spalletti's saying this. We're too hot. Everybody back to earth. But that routes of quick shouts. Lois wasn't here, so we had to go long again. Makes sense. We did have a lot of Serie A news there, so it works. But that brings us to our match previews. Match day number 8 coming up. A lot of games left to be played. It feels like this has been going on.
Not even 10 games in, dude. That's crazy.
It is crazy that there's been this many storylines, not even 10 games in. But our match highlights, our match previews that we really are sticking to, our games of the week. First one, Lazio at Juventus. I fully expect this game to be amazing. This isn't going to be Napoli at Juve, and I don't think it's going to be Roma at Juve, which were just a 0-0 stalemate. That isn't what Lazio have been at all this season. And I think they're going to bring it to Juve a little bit and expect to get points out of this game. So Juve isn't going to be able to be that boring in possession team that we have seen in the 0-0 games. And they're going to be, I think everybody's going to be playing on the counterattack. There's going to be haymakers thrown by each team. And it's going to be interesting. I think Di Gregorio is actually going to be tested for the first time in this game.
It'll definitely be an interesting game because Lazio, like, you don't know what you're going to get out of them. They kind of morph to their opponent, right? They kind of figure out how to play best against their opponent. And so against Juventus, they're probably going to have to be playing on the counterattack. I think Juventus will have the majority of the ball. But where I'm interested in is the defense, right? Lazio have allowed 11 goals. Juventus obviously have allowed 1, right? Not from the run of play. I do think this is probably the game where that streak ends for Juventus, and Lazio do score from a passage of play because of their firepower and the players that they have at their disposal. But this game can really go either way, and I think that Juventus, yes, it's in the Allianz, but Juventus is already starting on the back foot. I don't want to make excuses for Juve, but they have a lot of guys injured coming up, so they're not a full healthy squad. Obviously, Bremer's out. Obviously, Milik's out. Those guys are out the season. Nico Gonzalez injured. McKennie got injured on the international break. Coop Miners also injured as well. And then Conceição is suspended. So not a lot of guys to pick from for Mana. But we've seen him pick younger guys like Mbangula and Yildiz and have a lot of success. Also, we've continued to talk about this man, and this is going to be a very, very pivotal game in his early career for Juventus, and that is Douglas Luiz. No Coop Miners, no McKennie, most likely. You're going to have to play. You're going to have to not only play, but be productive, create opportunities.
You think he's going to play?
Well, he's got to play, right? I mean, the midfield's got to be Locatelli, Fagioli, Thuram too. So we have 4.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Thuram. I really don't think it's, and that's a very not creative midfield if you go those 3.
I want Douglas Luiz to start.
Okay.
I want Douglas Luiz, Thuram, Fagioli is what I would like to see. Or Locatelli. I don't really care which one comes out. One of those with Locatelli or Fagioli. But then I think we will see Bangula and Yildiz in playing at the same time. Maybe Yildiz off the right, and then Dusan. It's going to be interesting because of all those guys that are out. And Lazio cannot be playing better than they are right now. Right, they're scoring goals, so it's going to be a very, very tough match for Juventus. But you're Juventus. You're at home. Injuries are no excuse. You have a 22, 25 man roster for a reason. You need to win these games. You're coming off a game where you just dropped points against a much more inferior opponent. You need to now bounce back and get all 3 points. You cannot continue to drop points at home and expect to win the Scudetto.
Yeah, from a Juventus perspective, I think if you drop any points again at home, like this is a failure. Last 5 games, 4 draws, 1 win isn't really great for Juventus and what they're expecting. My prediction of how this game is going to go and what the storyline after the fact is going to be is midfield battle. I think the midfield battle is going to be very interesting because of how well Ravella and Guendouzi have been this season and how Juventus's midfield handles that. Because Guendouzi and Ravella have a lot of like grinta to them, and I don't know if Juve's been in the game yet where they're like battling in the midfield like this, where you're gonna get hit a lot. Like they're gonna be on you, and they're gonna be on the front foot, and when they don't have the ball, they're gonna be on you. Like it's gonna be a war, I think, in there. And I'm interested to see how they cope with that, especially Douglas Luiz, who's probably lacking confidence right now. That's a really weird spot to come in. Like this is a big game, even for Joel and Locatelli. It'll be interesting. I don't know. This is a good test for Juve, good test for Lazio, because at the same time, I think they're going in thinking we can get 3 points. That
Definitely.
they would be happy with the draw for sure. Like at Juve, they'll be happy with that. But the way they're playing, and Castellanos is probably licking his lips. Like this is a big game for me to continue to write my name this season, because that's the other big storyline.
Yeah, I mean, their last 3 games, including the Europa League, they have 9 goals. So they're scoring goals, right? They're at no shortage of goals. But to your point of the midfield, I agree it's going to be a battle, but that's why I'm always somewhat confident, because Juventus's midfield is so strong, whether it's our substitutes or our starters. Obviously, we don't have as many at the disposal this game, but even the 4 that we named are still very, very strong. Not to take anything away from Guendouzi and Ravella. What I'm going to be interested in is that left flank, right?
I was about to say that.
We've seen Savona play very, very well in Champions League games against strong opponents, but Nuno and Zaccagna are a force on that side. We saw what they did against Milan. We've seen what they've done against Torino. We've seen what they've done in their entire season so far. If he's going to pick Savona there, is Savona going to be able to hold his own? A newer guy. We haven't seen Savona have one of those normal kind of growing pains that you see younger players have yet. This could be the game. I'd be interested. It would be a bold statement, in my opinion, if Savona's picked. But I thought the same thing in both Champions League games, and he was picked both times.
It is a big pick. Mata's done well with his selections, though. So if he feels Savona's ready for it, he'll go for it. Otherwise, I would expect Kalulu probably to be out there, right?
Yeah, but I think Kalulu is going to play that in that Bremer spot probably.
Yeah, but so then if you're dropping Savona, what do you do?
I don't know. I would love to
Cabal,
see
Kalulu?
Cabal in the Bremer spot at that left center back.
Yeah,
Kalulu at right center back, or Gatti at right back, or one of those two flip flop with Gatti and Kalulu. But I think Mata's a little nervous about Cabal and Cambiaso, same side. They both want to go up and attack.
Yeah. You got to test him, though, to see if he can do it at some point. Like with the squad that they have, I still think he could be a very good stay-at-home center back. He's very athletic. He's big. I really like him. I'd like to see more of him. The other interesting part of this game for me is going to be, this is a good game for Dusan, I think, because Lazio's center backs have not been great. So if there's a time like, hey guys, we need Dusan to step up, this is kind of that game. Big game, but like who he's going against hasn't been great. And the goalkeeper in Providel hasn't been great. So big game. Dusan has been a big game player. He's a big game player against Leipzig. This is one for him to get it going. Like it's so weird with Dusan because he doesn't even have any competition. So it's like, I don't know what is going to get him rolling.
Yeah, I mean, you would have think that Leipzig game would have got him rolling, but then he comes back and Messi just a sitter against Cagliari, which causes the tie. But I will say last year in the Allianz Stadium, Juventus beat Lazio, I think 3-1, and Dusan scored 2 very, very impressive goals. So he does play Lazio well, and I agree. Lazio are open. They like to get up, they like to counter, they like to run, they like to attack. So it's going to allow them to be open. And I will say, Mata's teams are very, very strong on that counter attack. But you want to see Dusan start scoring consistently and putting his chances away consistently. And this is a good game to do it because of they've allowed 11 goals, right? Their defense is not compact by any means. So if you're going to get those opportunities to do something, you need to put them away.
Yeah, this is a high caliber game. We have another high caliber game going on this weekend in Rome. Inter Milan at Roma. Another big one for both teams. Like, what a weekend. We got Lazio at Juve and then Inter at Roma. Wow. This game storyline for me is Juric hasn't lost the game yet, but people have been hot on him, or not hot on him, kind of on his ass. I don't know the right way of saying that. Not impressed with what he's done, not impressed with the culture they've been playing. He's now had basically 2 weeks to instill what he's trying to get done on these guys. Not a ton of them left, I don't think, on the international break. So he should have gotten some ideas across. This is not an easy game, but you're at home. A lot of pressure. You got to go for the win.
Yeah, especially being at home. I know
in Serie A, for some reason, like at home, the away teams struggle on the road in Serie A for some reason.
It's also just if you want to finish in the top 4, have a chance at just Scudetto, in order to do that, you need to win your home games, right? Because it's tough on the road. So you need to maximize the amount of points at home. What I will say about this game, Inter they've allowed 9 goals. A lot of them are in the 80th minute and on. And also a lot of them are from the right flank crossed in to score a goal. I think that can play a huge factor in this game because Roma have Dovbyk and who's so good in the air. Now, on that right flank, they're typically playing Dybala and Soulé, who aren't necessarily the best, the biggest, let me whip the ball in here, right? So I think he's going to have to change something up there because I think Inter have allowed 4 goals or 4 or 5 goals that exact way where we're going down the right-hand side, we cross it in, and then it's a goal on with the head on the near post. Gabbia scored that game winner against Milan that way. Torino scored once that way. So that is a very, very big area where I think Roma need to exploit. And I don't know how they're going to do that with having Dybala and Soulé there. Who's their wing back that they play at right wing? So he's got to whip those balls in.
Yeah, and he's been playing very high up the field. So, I mean, tactically, like that is definitely the area, right? Like it's behind DeMarco, and you kind of have to deal with Bastoni and put him off somehow. I don't know.
And then you're just more athletic to the ball.
It is a good game for that kind of Dybala Soulé overload to actually work, really, because the left-sided midfielder for Inter is usually the more attacking midfielder in Mkhitaryan, maybe it's Zielinski, maybe it's Frattesi in this game. So that is the area to go into. And if it was ever going to work, it would kind of work in this game. And from a defensive standpoint, it's been decent for Roma. It's more like switching off and allowing bad goals, which against Marcus Thuram right now, you cannot do, or you're going to concede.
Yeah, I mean, Roma have only allowed 5 goals this season. They definitely have some areas where some moments in the game where they switch off, which you're right. Against Thuram, he's going to capitalize on that. But I'm not too worried about them defensively for some reason. I mean, Juric is a defensive coach. He's compact. They had the defense right under De Rossi. They still have it correct. It's with them, it's always been this season, can they score goals, right? And Inter also score a lot of goals, so you're going to have to keep up with them as well. I will say Acerbi typically plays strikers in that Dovbyk Holland type build pretty well. And he's fully rested as well as he didn't get called up for the international break. So he's going to be fresh. And typically when Acerbi's at his worst is when he's after a midweek game, right? After he just played in the Champions League or something. So that'll be an interesting matchup to look at between Acerbi and Dovbyk. I agree with that. Soulé and Dybala can really play a factor here because DeMarco is so attacking and even Dumfries, right? Like whoever's on the left for Roma, whether it's Pellegrini or I know they've been playing Baldanzi there a lot. Those are where you're going to have to kind of get in behind Inter is when their wing backs are moving up and on that counter attack with whether it's on the left side or the right side with those players.
Question for you. I think this would be a really good game to bench Pellegrini because he was on the international break, obviously had issues there. And then you've been training with the team to try to get what you want. Obviously, Pellegrini wasn't there for some of it. I just feel like if there was a time to give him a break and to reset, it would be kind of now, given that he hasn't been with the squad.
Yes, I agree with that. But Juric also did an interview that I was scrolling on Twitter, and they asked him about Pellegrini, and he said that he's doing well. He runs a lot, has a fantastic spirit, and doesn't hide away. Not even in training, he'll be unlocked. So I don't think that it's going to be the game where they say, "Hey, let's start Pellegrini on the bench." I wouldn't hate that idea.
I would
Pellegrini's
like
not.
to, I think Baldonzi has done enough to start.
I agree. And also Baldonzi, when he's out there, he adds different, and he is motivated. He runs around. He's like a little pit bull out there.
Yeah.
Wants the ball at all times, wants to make something happen, wants to get it forward, wants to create a chance. Pellegrini is sometimes lackadaisical out there. Yes, we know the class that he has, but he's not in form, and he shouldn't be starting. It's kind of like the Leao with Milan. He needs to either be the first one subbed off, or play his way back into the starting lineup, because I think he's done enough to lose his spot in the starting lineup.
I agree. And on the flip side of things, for Inter Milan, they are also looking at this as a game we have to win. So that it should be a good matchup. I don't expect a 0-0 draw in this game. I don't know who's going to win, honestly, because of how Inter have played. What I will say on the Inter front is there was a game to bring Dumfries back in full time. This would be a great game because he would be going against Angelino in like probably El Shaarawy off the left, realistically. And this is just a game that Dumfries can absolutely take over. If you're crossing the ball from the left side and Dumfries is running onto Angelino, like,
get dunked on. Get dunked on, Angelino. Get dunked on. Yeah, that would be a smart play by Inzaghi. We've been asking for it for a couple of weeks now to give Dumfries at least 60 minutes, right? I know Darmian has been playing well, so ride him out while he's in form, but you got to give Dumfries a go. My question to you is, do we think Barella is going to play this game?
I do.
And I saw that Linsky caught a small knock as well in the Poland game, so it's probably going to be the 11 for Inter, except maybe not Pavard, maybe a different right center back.
That's like you think?
Probably.
Yeah,
Look,
I'm
DeVry played well too.
Yeah, but I think DeVry is out of this team, is the way Inzaghi sees it. And he has no way of coming back in.
Yeah, I agree. It's just, once again, for me, it's just, what is good with the same 11? You have more players. I know Zielinski may be injured. You don't want to sub Lautaro or Thuram out for Taremi, but I don't.
This would be the game for Barella for Tezzi, though. For Tezzi is hot, and Barella's back. Like, this would be the game to do it.
We'll see if he does. I don't know if he's going to. And that, I know we moved on from Roma, but that just reminded me, talking about the midfield. Kone, I think he should play this game. He's been playing very well. He's an engine. He can kind of keep up with Barella, if we see Barella, in terms of Barella's engine as well. And Kone can win a lot of balls back. He is a little sloppy on the ball, but the amount of balls he can win back for you makes up for him sometimes losing them. And he had a great game against Monza.
Definitely. The more I think about this, though, this is going to be so hard for Roma. Like, regardless of how Inter have been, Roma have not been great. And all the Inter players outside of at Inter are playing so well that, like, at some point, it's just going to come back together because it's all the same guys. Like, they know how to play with each other. And I could see this quickly becoming the Atalanta demolition for Inter again. Like, they wouldn't be crazy if they win this game 4-1.
I don't know about 4-1. I think Juric he's a compact coach. Like, he's not going to give up as much as Gasperini does. He's going to have his guys behind the ball and try to counter. I really think that this could be a 1-1 type game. It could be a very similar game to the Milan game, where it could come down to a cross from that right-hand side where Inter's been weak, and Dovbyk if he can finish it, they can sneak out a win, especially because if it's close towards the end, Inter is the team that usually this
That's
season
true.
has let in that 80th minute and on goal. Roma's been kind of not too many lapses of concentration late in games besides the Genoa game. But I think the Genoa game, the whistle should have blew, and they got kind of screwed there. This will be a great game. It's tough to call this game. As you'll notice, Paisanos, I think you'll see that we have kind of subtracted or taken away the prediction of the scoreline.
Well, this is perfect because I was actually going to bring you back. What was your prediction for this game? Because the betting odds have Inter minus 130, Roma to win plus 310.
God, I would love Roma to win this game. I would love Roma to win this game.
I just don't see it happening. Like, as we're talking about this, like, it's got to be Inter.
Yeah, but you said that against Inter for
I know.
too, right? I'm gonna go, unfortunately, a draw. Probably a draw, even though both teams need to win. I think because Inter, it won't be like the end of the world if Inter draw this game and drop some points because they're away. But you want to keep pace with Napoli, right? And you already have 2 draws. If you're drawing another one, like it's not the best start for Inter, right? On a draw, but I think a draw 2-2.
Okay.
What do you think? I'm not gonna be the only one to say goals or the
I think
goals.
it's 3-1 Inter.
Ooh.
What I want to say the last thing I want to say on this game is, if you're Roma, shoot the fucking ball at Jan Sommer. He is not good right now. Just get balls to the net. He's spilling things left and right. He isn't paying attention. You got to test him because we've seen it every single game he's been in. He has not been great. And that could be key in unlocking this game.
Roma haven't lost in the league in the last 5. Draw, win, draw. So that'd be their first loss in 5 games.
I know, but their last 5 have been Venezia. Udinese was a good result. I forgot about that one. Genoa, Juve, Empoli. It hasn't been all that hard.
Monza. I agree. It'll be a good game. This is game of the week for sure.
Oh, I think Lazio is. I think the Lazio Juve game is going to be a better watch than.
Well, I guess it might be better watch. Also, technically speaking, Lazio and Juve are higher up on the table, but I would say that in terms of history of club, it's obvious.
Dude, Lazio are back. Don't count out Lazio. Lazio are fucking back.
Fuck Latito and everything it stands for. I want Juventus to win this game 5-0 because every time we would come knocking for Sergei, Latito would be like 150 mil.
Dude, I will never get over that we will never see Sergei Milinkovic-Savic in a Juventus jersey.
Not even that. With that, we no longer see him in in any league because Latito was like, I want crying and screaming, I want 150 mil. He's balling in the Saudi league. Obviously, he's like,
but he's not even making the Serbian team. He's not getting called.
Yeah, because the Serbian manager is an idiot, dude.
Yeah,
look what they do. He didn't play in the Euros. They stink.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next game. Logs' favorite team, Vos' ex-favorite team, Milan, are playing Udinese in the San Siro. Big game for Milan coming off of a loss against Fiorentina. Big game for Fonseca, who kind of put water on the fire against Inter, Milan finally beating Inter, their first win in the derby in 6 or 7 matches. And then right after that, we got an L against Fiorentina. If he loses to Udinese, do you think he's back in the hot seat? Are the rumors back? What do you think happens to Milan if they lose? Do you think they're going to lose? What are your thoughts of this game?
I think on the Fonseca piece, he's going to be on the hot seat every time they lose for a really long time, I think, with how things started and with how they played. Because I don't think it's been great very many times, even when they've gotten results. So I think he's got a long way to getting back where he needs to be and being safe in his job. In this game, what I'm worried about is Udinese over the last couple of years have been very effective at the San Siro. And Milan have really struggled against them. But what we did see with Udinese, and when they just went on the road to a big club in Roma, they got fucking smacked 3-0 on a Roma team that hasn't been great, especially at scoring goals. So if there was a game where Milan, big game that they can come into, and they just beat Inter Milan, it's just I don't know what we're gonna get. Like it's so concerning because Udinese, Milan should be looking at this game as we can beat them. What I think Udinese is going to approach this game as, let's get a point. And I think that's going to work against them rather than bringing it to Milan, because Milan right now is a team, if you bring it to them, they're going to struggle. We've seen it every game. And Udinese have been very effective at bringing the game to teams. And I think they're going to get away from it in this game, and they're going to be struck by the lights at the San Siro. Let's go into our shell and try to counter. And I think it's going to be an issue. I see this one. Milan are going to concede, though. That's the thing.
But Milan also don't play. They play worse when teams go into a shell. They kind of want to be this counter-attacking team that doesn't really make sense for them because they are one of the biggest clubs in Italy and need to possess the ball. But also forgot to mention prior to asking you on the setup for this game, no Tio as well this game, as he got a red card, is suspended. Pulisic was sent back. I don't believe it was due to an injury, so I think he should be playing. But another person, and we've talked about him as well, Rafael Leao, obviously has not really found his form for the AC Milan yet, but on Portugal over the international break was playing very, very well, had multiple assists. I don't know if you saw the highlight of him. He took the ball from below the midfield circle line and brought it all the way to the inside the 18, hit the post, and then Ronaldo finished it on a rebound goal. So like Leao was doing his Leao runs. Do we think Leao carries this over finally into the Milan jersey, or do we think it's more of the same? And how do you think not having Tio is going to play for Milan?
Yeah. So this is two things. So on the Teo one, I'm not all that concerned with that because he hasn't been great the whole year. In the one game that Terracciano played, he played against Lazio, and that was a very hard game to play in. And I thought he played better than Teo has played pretty much in any game the whole year. On the Leao one, kind of what you just said, Milan are better when they're playing in transition. And I think Rafael Leao personifies that. Like, that is where Leao is at his best, like picking the ball up deep, bringing it up very quickly, and then either doing something himself or slotting it across goal to score. Very rarely do you see him do that when they're in possession for a long time, because he needs that space to run. Because realistically, how Leao beats people is step over, kick it by you, be faster than you, get to the ball. But to even do that, you need space and need to be higher up the field to start that move. So I think there's going to be more. This game, I expect more of the same from Leao. Not much. And with Leao, it's always, you have to put him in the perfect situation for him to do his one great thing. And he's going to be phased out of the game for a lot of it.
Yeah, and then when he doesn't do that one great thing that he does, he gets upset and starts to pout a little bit and then takes himself out of the game, essentially. But I was just looking at the stats for these two teams. Very, very similar. Udinese, 10 goals for, 10 goals against. Milan, 15 goals for, 9 goals against. We obviously know Milan have much more firepower than Udinese, so you expect them to score more goals. But conceding just as many, only have one less. So I think that tells us what kind of game this is going to be, and it's a classic game for Milan, a shootout. And Milan, that's kind of what Milan want to be in, because they want to try to score more goals than you, because they know that they're going to concede. I'd also love to just say one shout. I mean, with Tio out, why not just mix it up if you're Fonseca? Take Tomori out as well. Put in Pavlovic and Gavia, see what they can do with Tio out, kind of shake things up. I would love to see that. But in terms of who I think is going to win this game, I think that Milan will get it done at home. They've been very, very successful at home. They beat Inter. I know technically that they were the away team, but they were in the San Siro. They blew out Venezia. They blew out Lecce. They've been able to find their form when they're home. I think they'll find it again. And I think Pulisic has been on fire. I don't think that stops this game. Tammy Abraham and Morata have had a very, very good partnership together. I think that continues. Tijani Reinders has been a very, very creative player and creates a lot of opportunities for their midfield. Fofana is starting to figure out how to play with this squad. Things are starting to come together. I think there's just a few loose ends Fonseca needs to kind of figure out. And I think that the firepower and how good that some of these guys have been playing will show through for this game. But I do think it's a high-scoring game. I think Milan win 3-2 or 4-2.
I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw. I do. From an Udinese perspective, their forwards have got to be licking their lips getting ready to play in this game. Like, Teo out, so you're going against Emerson and probably Tarasciano. Their best players have been their wingers. Lorenzo Luca is coming off his first call-up for the national team, debut for the national team. He's got to be feeling great about himself. And this is a battle of number 5 in the table and number 6 in the table. So there's a lot. This is a meaningful game. Udinese is 2 points clear of Milan right now. They can stretch that.
Yeah, and
5.
also, this is also, I don't know which game is first. I think this game is first, but Lazio play Juventus, which is 3 and 4. So, I mean, if Lazio tie and Juventus tie and Milan win, they can jump up to 3rd place. So, or Udinese, same thing, right, with a win. So, based on that game, one of these 2 teams with a win can shoot up this table. Also, Inter's only at 14 points.
Yeah.
They play Roma. If they get a draw, Udinese and Milan are in 2nd or 3rd place.
Same with Juve and Lazio. Like, everybody has a chance to jump right now, and this is such an interesting weekend psychologically for all these teams. Last point in this game, you were asking me about Fonseca. If they drop any points in this game, is that a failure?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah,
but I don't think fire Fonseca.
No, I agree with that.
Back in the hot seat again, and then
do you think he's on like a monthly leash right now? We'll reevaluate at the end of each month.
It's so terrible to put a guy on a leash every based on each game. Coming up, they have Udinese, then they play in the Champions League, then Bologna, Napoli, Monza, Madrid. I mean, it doesn't get much easier.
Not a good lineups.
Absolutely, Atalanta. Wow, Milan's schedule is tough. Wow. I mean, with this schedule, you need to be Udinese, you need to be Bologna, and you need to beat Monza in order to kind of keep pace with the boys. Wow, this is tough. I don't know, though. I don't think, like I said a couple of episodes ago, I will never call for manager's head early on in the season. Don't fire him 10 before 15 games into the season.
I mean, by the end of November, I think their only game that I would say is like 100% lock is Monza.
That's just scary. It's away though, so maybe not.
Or maybe
it's away.
No, that is away. And at Cagliari is also not an easy game to win. So this is going to be a tough one for Fonseca. He's going to need a lot of good results. That's the thing.
Against a lot of tough opponents.
Yeah, we're going to continue to check in. That's why we love
Calcio.
Think about it. Think about how many people were talking about like, oh, this schedule is difficult. It's because everybody's hard to beat. Outside of Monza and Genoa and Lecce, everybody is hard to beat. Every game's a hard game.
Yeah, agreed.
But that brings us perfectly into the rest of our games. We got Bologna visiting Genoa.
Under.
I don't know. This one's a snooze fest, right? This is a 0-0 easily.
That might be a good Culpi bet, is the under of that game. I mean, both teams can't score. They both have good managers, in my opinion, in Italiano and Gilardino. Genoa obviously just cannot really figure it out in terms of goal scoring. And that's kind of killed them. And then same with Bologna. They can't score goals either. Genoa has 5 goals for, Bologna have 7. But Bologna don't typically lose. Genoa typically lose. Bologna have lost only 0 of the last 5. Genoa has lost 4 of the last 5. So if history is telling us anything, Bologna is going to sneak this game out. But I think it's going to be a draw.
Italiano has got to get it done though at some point. That's how I'm feeling. Like, they draw so much. I guess Fiorentina did too, so maybe not. Maybe not. This one's going to be a draw. At the Lake, we got Parma visiting Como, battle of the newly promoted teams. What I love about this game is contradicting styles of play meeting each other. Fabregas wants to be ball dominant. Parma want to counter. This is going to be a fun one.
This game is Saturday at 9 a.m. If you are up, if you're not going to be up, set your alarm for 8:50. Get up and watch this game. You got some electric players in Dennis Mann, Nico Paz. And as you mentioned, Parma want to counter and sit back. Como want to possess. It's probably plays a little bit more into Parma's hand because
I agree.
But Como have beat Atalanta. It's technically Como's the home side. I think technically they're still playing at Verona Stadium. but they're both 14 and 15 on the table. They both have 10 goals for. Como have 14 goals against, and Parma have 12. So Parma 2 better. But this is going to be an electric game.
I think from a Como perspective, they're coming into this game in better form than Parma. Parma started very well, and they've kind of tailed off. But I think there's going to be a couple goals in this game for both teams. This is going to be like a 3-2. I think somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to win, game. And it's going to be a battle. This is a battle of the pod, too, because you refs are Como guys.
Yeah.
Parma guy.
I'll tell you who's going to win this game. Como's going to win this game because Parma's going to get a red card.
Parma's probably going to get a red card. I can't knock that. That hasn't stopped them from winning in the past. Oh, this is going to be a fucking awesome game.
Yeah, this is a great game. Like I said, 9 a.m. Saturday. Set your alarms for 8:50 to watch this game. Next game going to be another good one.
Yeah, another good one.
The Vegas in the sports book has this Napoli favored slightly, but Napoli at Empoli, kind of like the battle of very similar, or actually not similar. They both kind of want to do the same thing. They both want to sit and defend, really, and then hit on the counter. Obviously, Napoli's going to have more of the ball this game than Empoli. But we've seen how compact and how hard it is to break down Empoli, especially at home. It's going to be interesting. I mean, Napoli's also been firing on all cylinders, 3 to 4 goals a game. So one of these is going to break. Is Napoli going to be able to continue their goal streak, or is Empoli going to be able to continue being impossible to break down?
I think Empoli are going to get the result in this one. I really do. Because in a couple times this year, we've seen Napoli struggle to break down that deep lying team. Like they've gotten better, definitely. In all areas of the field, they've gotten better. They are the best team in the league right now. But still, they've lacked that guy that can break down the opposition, because every team has been so effective at just taking out Kvaratskhelia when they're sitting deep, and nobody's been able to pick up that pace. Maybe with Scott McTominay. This is their first game playing somebody that's going to sit very deep when you have Scott McTominay. Is he going to make that much of a difference? I have no idea. He might. He's never been like that creative playmaking guy. He's been more of a goal-scoring 10 kind of thing when he's played in that role. And I just haven't seen any signs that Conte's Napoli has figured out how to break down a deep-lying opposition yet, because he doesn't. How they are always going to play isn't really meant for this kind of a game. And this would be one they drop points.
I was just about to come in and say Napoli's going to win this game. They're in better form coming in, right? They beat Calgary 4-0, tied Juve and the Allianz 0-0. Beat Palermo in the Copa 5-0, beat Monza 2-0, and then beat Como 3-1. But you go look at the results Empoli get. I'm like, they lost to Lazio, sure, but tied Fiorentina, beat Torino, Calgary 2-0, tied Juventus. Like, these are good results for an Empoli squad. This, I would say as well, if you're Sunday at 6:30, so set your alarm for 6:15. But I tried to do that last week or 2 weeks ago, couldn't get it done. So won't fault you guys for not watching this.
3:15 my time, so I'm definitely missing it.
Oh,
unfortunately.
3:15 a.m. Yeah, so I mean, probably not going to be able to watch it, but this is going to be an absolute dogfight. But
here's a question
in the best way possible.
We talked about Conte. Every game, he has an idea of what he's going to get out of it going in. Is he going to say, like, fuck it, like, I don't want to lose to Empoli, like, let's play conservative, or is he going to go for it?
Nah, I think he's going to go for it. I think you're going to see a little bit of the Spalletti Napoli, where they're going to probably have 65, 70% possession. And that might be able to, I really don't know, but I do think that, I mean, Napoli come from, like, their pillars, like Labacca, Zambo, Cavada, Rachmani, Di Lorenzo, they come from the Spalletti system that is pass and move, 1-2 touch. So they have that in the back of their pocket. I think we're going to see that against Empoli rather than the sit deep and sit in a shell. But that might be what Empoli want to happen. It probably is what Empoli want.
Yeah. And this would be a good game for Spinazzola and Di Lorenzo at the same time, which we haven't seen a ton of. So that would be a big one. I think Spinazzola could be the key to this one.
Yeah, we'll see. I think Cavada could be that guy, and McTominay could be that guy that you said can really break them down. But we will see. Next game is going to be your newly anointed favorite club, Atalanta, going to a place that is not easy to get 3 points, even though they are far down the table, and that is Venezia.
Another hard game, another good game. All the Venezia games are battles, but they're always fun to watch. Like,
Especially in Venezia.
I know
They
this is
you
like
get Venezia away, you can kind of steamroll them.
this is a game where Venezia are going. I bet they score in this game. Definitely going to score. Like they come so close to scoring, and they score in a lot of games. They just can't pull out the win. I see them nabbing too in this game. From an Atalanta perspective, I'm not sure Reteghi's going to play because he played twice this weekend, and I'm sure Gasparini's saying, "Oh, we're playing Venezia. We can rest him."
I don't know. I mean, if you're
Pretty scary.
if you're a Gasparini, I'm playing Retegui. I'm not giving a shit that he just played 2 international games. I want to play the players that I have, like the best players. So that's what I'm gonna do. But maybe they take him out early. But in terms of you saying, I think Venezia can get 1 to 2. I mean, Atalanta average 2 goals a game that they allow, right? But they average 3 goals that they've scored. So it's gonna be Venezia. Can they stop that? Can they not allow Atalanta to get to 3? And
That's the hard part.
that's the hard part there. But I will say their last 5, 6 games, only one opponent has scored more than 3, and that was Milan, and Venezia got a red card like 10 minutes in. So listen, most Italian teams are compact and tough to break down besides Atalanta. And you're at home, anything can happen. This is a tough game. I do not think this is a walk in the park for Atalanta at all.
Yeah, this is for Atalanta. This is the game to show that your mentality is now in the right spot, because we've been saying that all season. Inconsistent. You're playing the team that's in last place. Show us that you're ready to compete for the Scudetto. Go to Venezia, get this shit done. You are better than them. And I'm not confident that they're going to do that.
Yeah, you said it the best. I say we move on to the next game. That is what Atalanta needs to do.
Yeah, definitely. This one, interesting. Don't watch it.
I think similar take though. Fiorentina, Polidino, this is the game. Show us that you are like worthy of the jump that you got. You went from Monza to Fiorentina. We see what Monza's doing without you, but you're not really making Fiorentina much better than they were last year, if at all. I know that some of the guys have been slow to start, like Colpani. You haven't had Gudmundsson for a little bit, but you have very strong and solid players. Yes, you're going to Lecce. Lecce have allowed 12 goals this season. They haven't been a very strong opponent. You need to win this game and show everybody like, hey, I deserve this higher. I can take on this challenge. I can get Fiorentina in the upper echelon of the table.
Yeah, and I think Moise Keane's questionable for this one, which is a big loss on the back of his Milan game. But Fiorentina right now are playing very well. I mean, last 5 games, win, draw, win, loss, draw. So they're trending in the right direction, scoring goals. Gudmundsson is making a massive difference. This is a game where he could net 3, and I wouldn't be shocked. And yes, they're just having random guys pop up. It's just that key cog that we haven't seen yet is Colpani. Like, he's going to play in this game because Moise Keane is questionable. Big game. This is another big one for Colpani. They need him to get going if they're going to keep rolling.
It's definitely got to be frustrating for Palladino too, that both his strikers haven't been able to like play together. Like, you see what they're capable of with flashes, but you can't get a consistent 90 or consistent game in and game out with them. So it's got to be a little frustrating, but you're at Fiorentina. It's no excuse. You still need to win this game.
Yeah, moving on. We got Torino going to Sardinia to play Cagliari. I hate this game for Torino right now. This screams draw. Cagliari going in the shell. Torino not being able to break it down. This is their first game without Duvan Zapata, and this is a terrible opposition to go against when you're trying to get goals. What I will say is Duvan is a little bit better when it's an open game. This one's going to be Torino dominating possession, so maybe it works. I also think Che Adams is a better transition guy than a ball dominant guy too. This is a puzzle for Vanoli, I would say. How are you going to bring it to a team that's going to sit in a shell? Because that's really what you're showing you're trying to evolve this Torino team into. And this is a team that is better than you, is worse than you, and is going to sit deep. It's a hard game, and I'm not confident they're going to get this one done. I could see this being a draw. I could see Cagliari winning.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, Torino's off of 2 losses in a row, and then top it off, their best goal scorer towards ACL. So it's going to be a tough one. However, they have had 2 weeks to kind of figure out what they're going to do without Zapata, which can play in their favor, right? Che Adams is having a great year as well, so he's nothing to kind of blow off, right? He's going to be a handful for the Calgary defense, but where are the goals going to come from? We're not sure. Che Adams is doing a lot more assisting than goals, although he did have 2 or 3. But this is a game that Dubon's going to be missed. Yes, he likes to play in a more open game, but this is going to be a game where there's going to be a plethora of crosses into the box. And that's what Zapata specializes in. And that's what they don't have unless their backup can get on one of the end of the crosses. I can see this being a tie as well, although since we're both in agreement that this is going to be a tie, probably won't be. But this will be a tough game for Torino and could be what is to come for them with Zapata out.
Yeah. This one's tough for me because these are 2 of my favorite teams in the league. I love both these clubs, so it's going to be a tough pick for me. I'd be happy with either winning. But we do have one more game, but I'm going to use it as our transition into everybody's favorite segment.
Colpi di Luna.
Culpi di Luna. Last game is Monza at Hellas Verona. You bet your ass I'm taking Verona money line plus 130. I love Zanetti's Verona. They're coming off a big win at home against Venezia. They're going to recreate that against winless Monza, who inevitably are due for a win. It's not this weekend. Verona is hot. Not really, but that was a big win for them, and I think they're going to roll off the back of that. I think everybody is in on this Zanetti project. This is one, if you want to keep the ship moving, you got to win it. Monza is winless. You are at home. You got to win. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I think Monza just lack the firepower to keep up with Verona's firepower. Verona have 12 goals this season. That's very respectable, right? They're tied with Torino, 3 behind Milan, 2 behind Lazio, more than Juventus. So that's like a very good amount of goals. Monza only have 5, right? So I just think they're going to lack the firepower. Although, maybe, who knows, Danny Maldini comes in hot off of his first call-up, being the first family ever to have 3 generations on the national team and make some noise. But I really like this pick. I actually looked at the board knowing that I needed a win and picked that one first. But because I knew that I needed a win, I was like, fuck, I can't be taking a plus 130. I need to go something in the favorite, something more with better odds, more favored to win. So my leg is going to be Udinese at Milan over 2.5. Last 4 in a row or 5 in a row, I've been picking money line or teams to win, haven't hit, need to hit. So decided to pivot to a different bet where it's over in goals. We talked about it in the breakdown. Udinese have allowed 10 goals. Milan have allowed 9 goals. They've scored a lot. Milan's defense is weak, very leaky. No Tio in this game. I think it's going to be a lot of goals. I hope it's going to be a lot of goals. I hope that I can finally get back on the win column. If I don't, we were talking about it, we might have to ban me from the Culpi, so I need to get a win.
You get benched from the Culpi. What are the odds on this one?
Yep.
Let's let them know. This is a slump buster if there ever was.
Honestly, I could have went better. Like I was looking at this Udinese at Milan over 1.5. Those odds were minus 520. I couldn't do that to you guys. That's just way too low. This over 2.5 for this game is minus 178. So it's not, we could be lower, right? We could be at minus 210, but we are pretty low, minus 178. So I'm in a comfortable position. I'm feeling good.
No, this one you should feel good about. Going off the stats, combined, they played 14 games. Combined, 25 goals for, 19 against, which is like, there are just goals galore when these 2 teams are playing, and it should happen. Like, this is a good bet. This is a good slump buster.
I hope so. And to piggyback off the over 2.5, a game we just finished talking about not 5 minutes ago, Logs' leg, Parma at Como over 2.5. Once again, I think another good bet. They have 10 goals apiece scored for, 12 and 14 allowed against. Doing the same math you did, 14 games, That's 20 goals for, 26 goals against. So a lot of goals. Parma's probably going to get a red card, be playing down 10 men to allow Como to score late in the
Inevitably,
game.
this is what's going to happen. Parma's going to go up 2-0, get a red card, and lose 3-2, like something like that.
I saw a stat the other day as well. Nico Paz, I know we were giving him some praise on
The way too early team of the week.
the way to the season. Nico Paz leading everybody under the age of 21 in like expected goals, even though he doesn't have a goal. He had or created chances or something along those lines, which is really good for a player being on Como.
Yeah, that is very good. That's a
So,
good bet too. This one comes in at -154, and for once, Logue did some good game analysis and clearly agreed with what we were saying. This game is going to be a lot of goals involved. That brings a whole Culpi. Weak Culpi today. Weak Culpi. We got -178, -154, and I'm dragging these odds across the line at +130. Whole Culpi +492. This is tough. We've been in like the 700-800 range recently. I think you muted yourself, Mons.
Oh, my bad. We have been in the +7, +800, +690 range in the last 4 or 5 Culpis, but we haven't hit one for all 3 legs. So knowing that we need to do that, we did decide to lower it a little bit. Maybe, who knows, maybe we hit this week and then we continue on this path of the more favorable odds so we can start making money. I know that me personally, I am down on the Culpi, but I'm up on the Juventus bets because you know me, I throw that $100 piece on Juve every week.
Doing that?
Fuck yeah, I'm doing that. Is that even a question? Forza Juve, baby, and Forza the Culpi di Luna. Listen, Paisanos, we need you to do a leg, though. You guys are slacking on the Paisan leg as well. So we're going to post this Thursday. Games don't start till Saturday, so plenty of time to post what your leg is. We will add this, and then that will pump the odds up slightly to make us more money.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. But with that, guys, we are done. Thank God Calcio is back this weekend. We're going to be back on Monday to break down what actually happened. We'll see where we were right. We'll see where we're wrong. We'll see if Motts busts the slump and gets on the board. But as always, reach out to us if there's anything you want us to talk about, anything we've missed, any feedback at all. We're here for it. Follow us everywhere at Calcio Culture FC. You can check us out on YouTube too. YouTube is getting a lot of love recently, I have to say. A lot of
39 subscribers.
Keep subscribing. We need more subscribers, guys. If you haven't, just go ahead and do it. And as always, you can listen on Spotify, listen on Apple Pods. Me and Motts are big Apple Pods guys these days. But we are done. Motts, sign us off.
I will sign us off. I just wanted to give a quick update on our stats for where you can listen to us. As I mentioned, 39 YouTube subscribers. That's great. Keep subscribing. We appreciate that. That really helps us to grow. 96 5 stars on Spotify, 4 away from 100. We'd love to get to 100 before match day 10 or match week 10. If possible, that would be great. So tell a friend to give us 5 stars. Apple Podcast, slightly less, only 22 5 stars, but more people are on Spotify for podcasts, although I kind of question that now that I switched to Apple Podcasts. It's way better, way louder. You get the video as well. So tell people to get on Apple Podcasts as well, and rate us 5 stars there. But I think that all in all, starting only being 2 months in, 3 months in on this podcast, having all of those subscribers and ratings and followers is a very good spot to be in. But please continue so we can continue to grow. Thank you for listening to my little rant there. I will sign us off now. Paisanos, as always, do not be a gagoots, and Forza Calcio Culture.